Catherine Mary Stewart did a fine job, but someone hotter, like Tawny Kitaen, would bring some extra spice to the role.
And she could have jumped on the hood of that fucking BMW.
Sure. Yeah, bonus points.
Welcome to Hey, did you ever see that movie? I'm your hostess, and as always, I'm joined by my crispy little co-host, Lynn.
Daddy would have gotten us Uzis.
And joining us again from our sister podcast, Violent Vinyl Radio, first up, the podcaster holding all the aces, Dangerous Dave.
Hello, everyone.
And last but not least, the podcaster that lights the dark side of the beat, Lisa.
Hi, guys. And Dylan. Girl power for this movie, right?
Yes.
So I gotta say, this is feeling more like a special movie edition of Violent Vinyl Radio with Dylan co-hosting as a special guest. Okay.
Which she needs to do more also. So
This week, we will be discussing the 1984 sci-fi movie, Night of the Comet, written and directed by Thom Eberhardt, starring Catherine Mary Stewart, Kelli Maroney, and Robert Beltran. As always, this podcast will contain spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie, go watch it, then come back and listen to the podcast.
I feel like we should change that to, as always, this podcast will contain spoilers and mispronunciations.
Names? Okay. Listen, I think they're counting on it. Okay, please take a minute to like and subscribe, especially if you're a YouTube listener, because it really helps the show grow. All right, let's do some quick opening thoughts on this one. So we kind of pulled this one out of thin air. We were supposed to do a Hereditary, but because of the hurricane in Florida and our co-host being from Florida, that episode had to be squashed. So we decided to do this last minute, and Dave and Lisa were gracious enough to come over with less than 24 hours notice to sit in on this podcast, and we truly enjoy that. So I have not watched this movie in probably been 5 years or so, but I have seen it hundreds of times. And if memory serves me correct, which it does not always, I love this movie. And I love movies like this because this is a scenario that I dream about. I hate people, spend a lot of time alone. So I cannot imagine how awesome it would be to wake up tomorrow. There's nobody here. I go find the first Ferrari I can get my hands on and move into the local plaza, right? That's what I'm doing. It's going to be fucking awesome. And honestly, I think that society today could benefit from a comet like the one in this movie. Dylan, have you ever seen this movie before preparing for the podcast?
Absolutely. I've seen this numerous times.
Okay. And Lisa, I know you've seen the movie because I asked you if you'd like to join us, and you said, I love this movie.
I've seen this hundreds of times, probably know most of the words to the movie, painfully enough. The last time I saw it was probably a year ago.
What have you seen more, this movie or Skid Row Live?
Oh my God. That's a good question. I honestly probably this movie with how much it was on HBO back in the 80s, maybe. Yeah.
That's funny. And Dave, I think you're the real wild card here. Have you ever seen this movie before preparing for this podcast?
I saw it a few years ago on streaming. Don't really remember too much about it. And I remember thinking it was okay at the time. We'll see how it goes today.
You never saw it back in the day when it first came out?
I did not.
Wow.
The rewatch for me, we'll get into it. The rewatch did not play out exactly the way I thought it would, but we'll get into that. Okay, let's do some quick facts on this one. I just have one fact. The motorcycle that Regina escapes on from the zombie guy was the T-140E Triumph Bonneville, and this is the same motorcycle that Mayonnaise rode in An Officer and a Gentleman. Dylan, you got any facts on this?
Yeah. So the Uzi that I already mentioned, that actually jammed for real. It wasn't an Uzi, it was Mac 10 or whatever it is. And they didn't have enough film or time to keep doing reshoots. So the director just said, if it jams, just, ad lib. And so that's an ad lib.
Oh, cool.
Daddy would have bought us Uzis. also Kelli Maroney, who plays Samantha Belmont, was a cheerleader in Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Mm-hmm.
And she also, when she's in the recording studio, she tells them to call in Teenage Mutant Comet Zombies. And that was the working title for the movie. And I thought that was kind of cool.
I think this title was probably more profitable. Not that, I mean, I like that name. I mean, it would have been a great, like, punk pop band from the 80s could have been called that, but whatever. Lisa, do you have any facts on this?
Sure. This is actually the first movie to be rated PG-13.
Oh.
Which is interesting. Yeah, and I can't figure out why, honestly, because they badly covered most of what could have been swear words. There was a couple in there. There was no nudity to speak of, so I'm kind of reaching as to why this was the first movie that got that rating. Back in the day, maybe because it would scare children. I don't know. It's like a bad scenario. Do you remember the movie The Day After that played on TV? And and they warned us in school, like, don't let your children watch this movie, or you have to talk about it. And I wonder if it's kind of in the same ballpark of atrocity movies that
I think they kind of considered a 13-year-old not quite old enough to handle a lot of things back then, whereas like today it's like everywhere. So
they've seen all this now.
But by the time this came out, I'd already seen the episode of Facts of Life where Arnold and Willis get abducted by, Arnold and his little friend get abducted by like a guy that likes little guys. It was a creepy episode. So
yeah, with the bicycle shop.
That's right, the bicycle shop. Oh shit.
Yep. Oh yeah. Very special episode. I remember that one.
Stay away from the bicycle shop.
A lot of the actors in this movie actually had really good careers. I don't know if you researched any of that, but a lot of them worked consistently, like throughout their lives up until today. Dylan mentioned Kelli Maroney in Ridgemont High. We all love that scene. It takes a lot of courage to get up here in front of all you. Yeah, it's such a good scene. She was also in True Blood. She was.
Was she?
Yeah, she was the televangelist lady with the big blonde hair on the TV commercial or whatever it was. So, one episode, but that was a call out for me there.
And the Last Starfighter, what's her face, was in the Last Starfighter.
She was in, and I had actually seen that movie right before I saw this one. I saw it early because a friend of mine worked at the Revere Cinema, which is now an Amazon warehouse.
Crazy.
Is it really?
Yep.
Oh yes.
Yep.
Yeah, horrifying.
That's terrible. How rude.
It really. That was the center of the world back then.
Yeah.
Robert Beltran, of course, Star Trek Voyager, and most recently Star Trek Prodigy in 2022. And the most surprising one, Mary Warrenoff, who played Aubrey, was a Warhol girl. And
really?
appeared in tons of Warhol movies. She was also in Charlie's Angels and Taxi and Mr. Belvedere and Babylon 5, My So-Called Life. And she had a amazing career, basically never stopped working. Yeah. The little girl that played Sarah that got brought in on the helicopter is a very popular anime voice actress now. So,
You should have known that.
I know. I'm sorry. I did not know.
Yeah. So... Cool. Dave?
Wow. And I had the motorcycle with the same one that Mayonnaise rode in Up and a Gentleman. Dave, what do you got? Anything on this?
Yeah, I got a couple.
Okay.
The lead actress, Catherine Mary Stewart, still works as an actor. We mentioned that she is also, in addition to this movie, known for The Last Starfighter. She is also known for Weekend at Bernie's and the horrible fiasco of a movie, Dudes.
I've never seen Dudes, but I do like Weekend.
Oh my God. We watched that a couple months ago. It was so bad.
Yeah, it was
awesome.
We talked about the little sister Samantha, Kelli Maroney, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, and she was also in the soap opera Ryan's Hope.
Ooh.
Mary Warrenoff, I didn't know all those things about her. I know her best as Miss Togar from Rock and Roll High School with the remote.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And the sequel to that too, she was in it as well. So,
nice.
Yeah.
And also the male scientist in the underground bunker, Jeffrey Lewis, has been in tons of stuff, but played country singer Roy Sullivan in Rob Zombie's movie The Devil's Rejects.
Oh,
yep. He was also in X-Files, if it matters to anyone.
Yeah,
yeah.
Tony would have known that.
Love the X-Files.
Love. We were
That,
just watching the X-Files tonight.
Nice. The movie theater featured in the beginning of the movie is the historic El Rey Theater on Wilshire Boulevard in Los Angeles. A quick trip to Google Maps shows it still looks pretty much the same today.
Wow.
Yeah. The film's zombie makeup effects were created by David Miller Creations. Other examples of his work include prosthetics for A Nightmare on Elm Street. In the book, Never Sleep Again, The Elm Street Legacy by Tommy Hudson, Miller cites his work on Night of the Comet's Zombie Cop as the main inspiration for Freddy Krueger's look.
I was just saying to Lynn, I loved the Zombie Cop. So cool. So much fun.
And
the funny thing is, those two cops were actual cops. They were guys that were just on detail for the movie.
Oh, really?
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Finally, Kelli Maroney and Mary Warnoff were both in the 1986 classic film Chopping Mall.
Chopping Mall. Oh, I remember
that one
the poster.
rules.
I remember the poster for Chopping Mall. It's awesome.
We should do Chopping Mall. That sounds great.
We'll have to run that one by Tony. I'm sure he's seen it a million times.
Yeah, probably.
Okay. Box office. With a box office budget of $700,000 and a box office gross of $14.4 million, this was considered an enormous success. 14.4 back in 1984 was a lot of money. I'm surprised we didn't get Night of the Comet 2, 3, and 4.
Or a TV series is what I think it should have been.
Yeah. You think with that kind of a return, we would have got something. All right, let us get into this. I will give you a quick synopsis and then we will break into this gem. A comet wipes out most of life on Earth, leaving two valley girls fighting against cannibal zombies and a sinister group of scientists. That is a pretty broad stroke I just brushed. There's a lot going on in this plot, right? I'm not sure what I'm watching, but I'm having fun. Lynn, let's do it.
All right. A comet, which has not passed by Earth for 65 million years, is about to swing by the planet. Most people are partying, but a few are concerned that the Earth will be passing through the comet's tail. These include a team of scientists that enter a bunker in the desert just outside of Los Angeles the night that the comet is to appear. That same night, 18-year-old Regina Belmont is working as a theater usher. Instead of going home after the last performance, she calls her stepmom Doris and tells her she'll be out all night at the observatory with her science class. A lie. She really intends to spend the night with her sort of boyfriend Larry, having sex in the steel-lined projection room for $15.
Dude, she's worth way more.
Oh my God. She paused to say, this bitch has the best hair. Oh my God.
Yeah.
God, that hair is good. It's
She's
awesome.
She had almost like Tawny Katane hair just a couple years earlier than Tawny. Perfect hair.
It was just perfect. Like whoever was in charge of her hair, good job.
She's good.
Larry, the projectionist, is waiting for somebody to return a film he loaned them so that he could make a pirated copy from it. Back at Regina's home, the outgoing 16-year-old's sister, Samantha, gets in an argument with Doris, accusing her of sleeping with a neighbor while Sam's father is away with the military in Honduras. Doris decks Samantha and she runs away from the house. I remember that back in this day and age, parents hit kids, but it still took me a minute to be like, holy shit, she smacked her. And then she smacked her back and then she decked her. And I was like, what? It seemed a little aggressive, but it kind of was like a little bit like this.
Dude, I remember getting slapped right in the mouth for fucking not folding laundry, being like, no, I'm not doing that. I was like, whack, do it. Okay. There it is.
I also thought it was interesting that they chose to set this movie at Christmas. And there's several parts that the Christmas thing comes into play. Later on, there's the going to see Santa thing. And of course, when she leaves the El Rey, it says Merry Christmas on the doors and all that. So I was like, it was an interesting choice to set it right near Christmas, especially because it's LA. So it doesn't feel like Christmas, right?
Yeah.
So.
And they give us all these other little strange things, like these bizarre scenes at the end of the movie with the children going to see Santa. This is like a horrifying Christmas movie.
Yeah.
So I love the intro here, this voiceover we get in the very beginning. The narrator, he's telling us everything that we need to know about this movie very quickly, right? He's setting this story up with a little exposition dump. It's fine. I couldn't help but to think that this felt a little bit like, or I should say, Don't Look Up, the Netflix original.
Oh, I have that too.
Yeah, it was definitely borrowing from this movie, just in flavor. And there's a couple other movies that are going to do this as well. We did review that movie. I fucking love that movie. I've seen Don't Look Up more times than I can count.
Yeah.
Loved it. These two didn't really care for it. The two I did it with. Lisa, did you like it?
I loved that movie.
Okay,
Absolutely
yeah.
loved it.
Fucking love that movie. I could watch it over and over. I think the charm of this movie for me is how it really captured the essence of the 80s. Like this just because it was the 80s. It wasn't like a movie today trying to be the 80s. Did I love watching Regina play Tempest? Yes. Did I love to play Tempest? Yes. Did I think Regina was way too good from Badger from Iron Eagle? Did you guys notice this is Badger, the one that rides the XR and the snake run against Doug Masters?
I did not realize.
Yeah,
Missed
and
that
then
one.
yeah, then we finally meet Samantha. Epic 80s workout outfit. Loved it. We get this dynamic between Doris, the sister, and the father in a quick exposition dump. Explains everything. And then we get some good old 80s fashion child abuse. Perfect. We're off and running.
I mean, I really appreciate the background of the father because the father is military.
Yep.
He obviously, so like when Reggie is able to defend herself, it's not surprising. When they know how to shoot guns, it's not surprising.
Yeah,
I
she's a
really
military brat.
appreciate that you have these girls that are obviously Valley girls that obviously are looking to be cheerleaders and stuff, but they have this part that makes it really believable that they could handle themselves.
Absolutely. Dave, what do you got?
Yeah, I like the voiceover narration at the beginning. We get to see old school New York Times Square, stock footage, I'm guessing.
Oh, yeah.
I need some of that antenna headgear with the tinsel on it.
Dude, the guy trying to sell to him for $9.
Back then, that was like $40.
Yeah. Regina's lie over the phone to her stepmom, relayed by Samantha, is truly convincing.
Yeah.
And that slap fight was awesome.
Oh my God.
Lisa, the intro of the movie, what'd you think?
Oh, so my comments are a lot like yours does. So we have a movie about how stupid humans can be when faced with actual science.
Yep.
Just like Don't Look Up, we have this comet coming that we know is like the dinosaurs, and remember what happened to the dinosaurs. And everyone's out there having a freaking party, waiting for the comet to come. You know, we're supposed to have flying cars by now, aren't we? And we're trying to tell people not to eat Tide Pods. And
the internet damaged the world's minds.
It really did. It really did. I say to my little sisters all the time, you have all the knowledge of humans like in your hand on a tiny device right now, and you're using it to take selfies. So like, come on.
Yep.
I love the 80s, flashbacks, the video game scenes, of course, like the arcade scenes, and her being in Last Starfighter when that was kind of what the movie was about. I was like, wait a minute, it's kind of like the same movie. Is that the same video game? No, it's not, but it was similar. The outfit, Samantha's outfit, the workout outfit, the yellow spandex with the pink leg warmers. Oh my God, I love it so much. I like seeing the projection room because nowadays, obviously, nobody even knows what that is anymore. Those don't exist. Like, you can't borrow a movie from a movie theater anymore. Like, all of these things that just don't happen anymore. A few misogynistic jokes about her being a prostitute, that was fine back in the day.
Yeah.
And of course, the big fight, which nowadays would result in an arrest for domestic violence or something like that, seemed perfectly normal back in the day. It was pretty awesome. And if this is the electrical storm starts during the party, like when this is coming in, no one flinches. They just keep looking up at the sky and watching it. Like, what is that?
Yeah. I'm like fucking Guy in Galaxy Quest. I'm like, you don't know if that's air. Don't open that. Like, I'd be hiding under my bathtub. Like, I'd be out there sucking that up. The projector room kind of reminded me a little bit of Desperately Seeking Susan.
Yes, exactly.
Of course.
Running the
Yeah. She mentioned leg warmers, and it made me. So the doctor,
she's wearing leg warmers.
The doctor with the leg warmers,
yeah,
and everyone's in the jumpsuit with the white belt that everybody had in the 80s.
Yeah, wardrobe went a little off the rails with the scientists.
But the leg warmers, as soon as they show the body shot and you can see her black leg warmers, I was like, what am I looking at? Wow.
It was awesome.
Wow. It was amazing.
But that's what makes this great. I mean, we were talking about this with the Typo Negative album last week. This is satire. I mean, this movie is satire. You have to be able to see what they're presenting here. It knows what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And were people really this stupid back then? I feel like scientists were like, I thought when I was a kid anyway, that if you were a scientist, you were trying to like help the world and heal the world. But like all movies are about like evil scientists that have some ulterior motives. So.
Fuck yeah. Never trust a scientist. Go to the hospital if I have to. They're going to sell you a surgery.
Oh, my Lord. The next morning, Larry and Regina awake to find that the film has not been returned. Larry intends to go out and get it while Regina stays at the theater to let him back in. While she waits, she plays an arcade game and manages to beat the score of some previously unknown person with DMK, who topped her high score. When Larry leaves the back of the theater, he's attacked and killed by a zombie who drags him off to eat him. Regina goes looking for Larry and is surprised to see his motorcycle still there. She's then attacked by the zombie, but her father's giving her self-defense training, and she's able to get away, jump on the motorcycle, and take off. Felt a little unbelievable, but I'll allow it. On the way home, Regina sees that there's no traffic on the road and no people on the sidewalks, only clothes and red dust. The sky is also a strange shade of red. She begins to realize that something bad has happened. On the street at home, she again sees there's nothing around but empty clothes and red dust. She's surprised to find her sister alive, however. Sam is dressed for her pep squad practice, though complains that no one's answering the phones. Samantha, who doesn't realize that anything is wrong yet, tells Regina that she ran away in the night with no place to go, slept in the steel garden shed. Regina forces Sam to see the truth, though she's having trouble accepting it. Regina speculates that the steel of the projection booth and the shed somehow had protected them. The girls turn on the radio and find that the local station is still operating, so they jump in a car and head into the city to see if somebody's there. So when Larry goes to leave the theater, there is a old-timey poster on the wall, and it's called Red Dust. And I was like, well, that's foreshadowing. I thought that was pretty good. I don't know if I can believe that she's going to fight the zombie off. I don't know. He's a little bit bigger than her. I'm not sure that I believe that. I know that I said it was great that she had the training from her dad, but it's like, do they have I can't tell, did they have superhuman strength, or are they just zombie people?
Nah.
Like, I couldn't quite tell.
Yeah, I mean, this is a zombie movie, light on the zombie.
Right.
It's light on everything. It's light on the science,
Are you eating food? What is wrong with you?
I'm eating an edible, and it got stuck in my teeth. It's a chewable one. It's one of those
fucking professional podcaster there, kid.
Sorry. Yeah, it's light on the science. You don't want to ask a lot of questions. You don't want to start digging into this plot. You don't want to start digging into the rules of this universe.
Right.
Because if you do, it's going to be a problem. But what I do love about this movie is the way that it looks. These lens effects they use for both the Comet's effects is like out of a Billy fucking Idol music video. And then the sky and the reddish orange effect for the morning after. Again, it's amazing. And this city, it almost looks like it's like computer generated or something. It looks fake. And it really adds like this kind of dreamy effect to the whole movie that I really, really like. I mean, if Regina had woke up in the fucking film room and this whole thing had been a dream, it would have made total sense, right? The choice to have the dead depicted as piles of orange dust, it fucking looks great. It works perfect with this movie, and I love it. Did you guys notice the sign that the clown was holding? $59 for brakes. Holy shit! I just had my brakes done. It was like fucking $700. I was like, what?
Inflation.
Yeah, a big time inflation. I love that we get a little horror here with the zombie killing Badger with the wrench, the monkey wrench, and then we get the shot of the monkey wrench with the blood on it. It's so fucking awesome. It's such satire. I'm laughing and having a super good time. We're getting everything from sci-fi. We're getting horror. We're getting everything. And finally, the choice to have the city void of people while all the different timers are going off, switching things on.
Yeah.
So the world looks like business as usual, but there's nobody in it. And I love it because it gives these characters that have survived, like you can say, okay, yeah, maybe they're not picking up what's going on really quickly. You see the clothes, you see the dust, but there was a big Comet party and everything seems to be going on. And then finally, having the broadcast from the radio station be this beacon of hope and, and just being used as a tool to keep the movie going forward and having them all get together to go to this radio station. I thought it was fucking great. But I did have one question. Why weren't they wondering that the DJ was not mentioning anything about this mass extinction? Like, I don't know.
Well, we have some spectacular sky effects. They signal the arrival of the comet. And by spectacular, I mean terrible.
I loved it.
I think they generated those effects with an Atari 2600.
And they were doing the thunder with like that big piece of metal where you go.
Sure. Yeah, some aluminum foil.
Yeah.
Yeah, that the arrival of the comet is a little downplayed. I thought we just sort of skipped to the next morning. Yeah, that clown at the car garage, I need that in my house.
So cool.
Research claims that the waving clown is the same one that Pee Wee Herman locks his bike to in Pee Wee's Big Adventure
I should have
outside
seen that. I should have
outside
had
of
that.
Chuck's bike shop.
I should have got that.
Yeah. This girl has a real video game addiction, waking up at like 7 a.m. and the first order of biz is try to beat some fool's high score.
Well, if you were just in The Last Starfighter and the video game was the center of saving the universe, so would you.
But
I love that video game.
she wasn't in this movie. Also, she picked up underpants off the street with her bare hands. Gross.
Yes, she did.
And the movie bootleg studio conveniently seems to be in the alley right behind the movie theater.
It's perfect.
So, that's pretty sweet. Yeah, Regina rides off on the motorcycle. We see the Benz parked at the stoplight again that we saw in the opening credits. Incidentally, this is writer/director Thom Eberhardt's personal car.
Oh, he loved that car. He's like, look at my car.
Yeah, unfortunately for continuity, the clothes scene from the comet victim earlier near the car are no longer there.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
Don't you think she should have got off the bike and into the car? Like, if you were in a zombie-soaked city, wouldn't you rather be in the safety of a car than driving around on a street bike?
You'd think so. I
I was
mean,
like, get in the fucking car.
Well, I'm
motorcycle,
sure to a certain degree, she was like, what happened? Was there like an evacuation? Somebody's coming back for this car. Like maybe she wasn't thinking quite clearly.
No,
that
come
this
on.
was-
yeah,
Oh,
you can squeeze through tighter alleys in a motorcycle.
Right.
That's true.
Maybe.
I want to get arrested for stealing the car.
Samantha's cheerleader outfit in cotton candy blue and hot pink is wild.
So
What
perfect.
school has colors like that, even in
None.
the 80s?
Oh, it's the school that Mickey went to from Oh, Mickey, You're So Fine. She was wearing the same outfit. Tony Basil. Sorry.
Finally, we see when the girls look over the clothes outside the house, they pour out what's left of Chuck the neighbor out of his sweet white shoes.
Nice.
I'm just imagining a universe where Chuck is a relative of Cousin Eddie from the vacation movies, and that would be fantastic.
Real tomato ketchup?
Real tomato ketchup, Eddie? What, there's no meat in this? You get plenty of meat at home, Clark. Lisa, what do you got? You like Vacation?
I did like Vacation.
I
Who
love
doesn't
Vacation.
Like
All of
Vacation?
them.
You can't not like that movie. How did we get zombies? Like,
Yeah.
what science happened? Even when I was a kid, I was like, where did the zombies come from? Like,
Why are there like
how did
4
that
zombies in
work?
this city? Like, what?
Right? Like the comet burnt all these people to dust, right? All the buildings are fine. Everything else is fine except the people, right? The electricity is still running.
Sure.
Even though this is probably a huge electric event, right?
It's explained that the people who were directly exposed to the comet were vaporized into
Right.
dust,
And
the
then,
people who were indirectly exposed to a little bit of the comet, they turned into zombies.
No, I
Okay.
get how they explained it, but that doesn't make sense.
It doesn't
But
actually
it's-
make any
no,
sense.
but it's really funny because Delyn and I were actually discussing this over coffee, right? Like, we were trying to figure out like what the rules were to this
Yeah,
thing. And
that's
at
what
the
I'm doing.
yeah, and then at like the very end, we're trying to say, did they die in 10 hours, or were they immune to this, or
Right.
it kind of leaves that up for discussion, if you will. Sorry, keep going.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And I don't like that. This is a major city. It seems like I think it's supposed to be in New Jersey. Aren't they in Jersey somewhere?
No,
No, it's
I
LA.
believe it was
Oh,
LA.
it's LA. Okay.
They
Yeah.
mentioned.
So major city, right? And there's one car on the road in the middle of the night in the major city. Like, when she first grabbed the motorcycle, I got it because I was like, oh yeah, you're going to have to weave in and out all the cars that are like stuck on the road. No, there's one car on the highway and nothing else. That's very strange.
Lisa, that's your $700,000 budget for the movie.
Right? Yeah, totally. And not to be fair, watching the scene as a kid and seeing like the red sky against the skyline of the city and just the emptiness, that was super cool, but it doesn't make sense. Right?
No sense.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't make sense.
So I love Sam's cheerleader outfit. Oh my God. And the fact that she's just being ditzy about like understanding that something has happened. And then she picks up the dog leash. And I scream, not the dog, not the dog.
Yeah.
I can't handle when the dogs like die in the movies,
No.
but they should have saved the dog. So that's one of my notes for the director there. The dog should have still been alive.
My little dog is powder in a bowl downstairs.
Yeah.
Aw.
Yeah.
Poor little guy.
Mine usually are over in this cabinet, but they're not right now.
And we didn't need a Comet to do it.
Yeah, exactly. So cool.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. Good. Keep it going.
All right.
Moment of silence for all the dusted dogs.
Aw, dusty dogs. We love them. All right. Let's see. Okay. At the radio station, Regina and Samantha quickly realize the DJ they've been hearing is all automated tapes done ahead of time. However, they're not alone in the station. A man named Hector Gomez appears, pointing a revolver at them and makes them stand in the light of the room so he can see their faces in order to make sure that they're not zombies. Hector tells them that he is a truck driver who spent the night in the back of his steel trailer with a teenage girl that he picked up hitchhiking yesterday afternoon. He further tells the story that he and the nameless hitchhiking girl arrived in the city that morning and saw it was deserted. They drove around looking for a gas station to fill up his truck when they spotted one of the zombies apparently eating a cat. Hector then claims that the girl panicked at the sight, ran off, and was killed by some of the zombies. Hector has also come to the radio station to see if anyone survived. While Hector and Regina talk about Regina's friend apparently getting killed by zombies, Samantha gets on the air and asks anyone who's still alive to phone the station. She soon gets a call from a group of scientists at an underground bunker. They advise her that the comet has caused most of the population to turn into dust. People who only had partial exposure will turn into zombies before they finally succumb to the same fate. They tell her to stay where she is, and they'll send a rescue team to come and rescue them the next day. I have a problem with Hector being involved with these girls because he's an adult. He's an adult.
It's in my notes. We'll get there.
He's an adult. And I mean, I know Regina's an adult. She's 18, but Sam is 16, and Sam's like, Hector's hot. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah, Hector's also 47.
Yeah, Hector's like messing around with girls in his truck, and it's like,
he's got VD. He's horrible.
Picking up teenage runaways.
Good. Yeah, right. He was like, she's like, what were you doing last day? He's like, well, I had a lot lizard in my truck. She was like 10. I was like, oh God.
It was an interesting choice. I think they could have had him just come in without all that. It was gross.
Fucking jarring. So let's talk about the radio station. I fucking love this radio station. So this radio station would have been my new apartment. And strangely, it kind of looks like the room I'm in right now. So this radio station looks like the set for the Bang Tango video, Someone Like You. Have you ever seen that?
Of course.
It was shot in this room, okay? I'm not sure why Thom Eberhardt decided to cast an extremely mature 40-year-old man to play Hector, who would ultimately become 18-year-old Regina's love interest. It is so creepy. Thank God there's no on-screen chemistry between these two. And also thank God they don't really run with the love story too much in this movie. We get a smidgen of it at the very, very end. That's fine. And I was like Delyn said, I was more disturbed by Samantha's interest than Regina's, but both of them, it just didn't work. It's wrong. Back to the radio station. This is where I am setting up camp. You got endless music. You got a great sound system. You got 80s decor to die for. Do you guys see that purple and black bathroom with the marble? Incredible. Yeah. I would hit the local police station, get myself some guns. I'm hitting them all for a fridge and a TV, a VCR, and 1,000 fucking VCR movies. This is a dream come true for me. Dave, what did you think?
Well, my first note was this radio station is decorated like a creepy uncle's bachelor pad.
Nice. Uncle Des.
Yeah. There's definitely a stash of cocaine somewhere in that station.
Yes.
No doubt. No doubt.
Great quotable line. Who'd want to eat a live cat?
Me. Here, Mr. Jinx.
They're eating the cats. They're eating the dogs.
Those fuckers in Springfield, Mass. They're eating the cats and the dogs.
Yeah,
my
yeah.
God.
Happy to see Miss Togar from Rock and Roll High School.
I love this radio station. Did you notice the scary part of town that they drive through to get to the radio station, and then
Yeah.
they walk through the door and it's all like fancy, like decorated? I'm
So
like,
good.
That's not safe at all.
So
But
good.
it's fun that it's still operating despite a major electrical event the night before.
Yeah.
No problem with that at all.
No.
Did a lot of radio stations back in the day have automated systems like that? I know like a decade later, maybe in the 90s, they definitely did.
Yeah.
But I don't know that they were doing that hugely in the 80s.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like they did. It seemed like there was a disc jockey usually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would imagine probably not. They just kind of rigged that up for the movie.
Yeah, which explains why they were sure that there was somebody at the movies, at the radio station that they would go and find there.
Wasn't standard operating procedure.
I'd
Yeah,
be using
yeah.
that as a tool to stay sane too. Like, just keep
Yeah.
running the tapes, make it feel like there's somebody here.
And what would happen today, right? Because who listens to the radio anymore, right? Who even watches regular news TV, right? Where are we all going when this happens? Because we're going to some podcaster's house, like
Come on over.
right? It's just like, what is happening? So there's some really bad music. Well, we can talk about the soundtrack maybe at the end, but there's some bad music playing at this radio station.
Yeah.
And then here comes who I thought immediately was Eric Estrada.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah.
Eric Estrada light.
Eric Estrada, yeah, it definitely wasn't obvious how old he was compared to the girls. Now, I read that the director wanted to make a female protagonist teen, to lead this movie, because teen movies were like a big thing at the time, right? Breakfast Club and all that, like the John Hughes movies and everything. Like this was kind of a new genre. They weren't really before this, in like the 70s, they weren't making movies for teens, and now they are. Okay, well, if you make that decision, right, maybe either have an ensemble cast, like not just one or two. It would have been better with like more people, and not add in the 45-year-old man to play with the little girls.
Good
like,
God, man.
yes.
just awful.
Agreed.
And Regina's kind of racist towards him. Did you notice that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, a little
Like
bit.
racist
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I guess that was acceptable back then too, but it made me cringe. Like,
But I don't know. After
recently.
the Lot Lizard story and everything
Yeah.
else, he kind of had
Yeah.
it coming. He was a bit of a scumbag.
Really, really, really creep. At least there's a female scientist in this. Like, I mean,
But she's wearing leg warmers.
she's wearing leg warmers. And she is kind of the villain in all of this. So I don't know.
No,
Well,
but
it's so
she's
funny
not.
because she's not though, because they set her up. They set
Yeah.
her up so that you hate her.
Yeah.
Like you
Yes.
hate her guts. You're like, she doesn't want to help people. She sucks. I hate this lady. And then as you watch the movie, you're like, oh my God, like
Yeah.
she's not the villain. Like you catch on almost at the end that
Yeah.
she's not the villain.
Yeah, the whole time she's fucking gaslighting her scientist comrades, knowing she's gonna, blow this thing up.
But
She doesn't want to be part of the murder anymore.
But like the scientists, right? So they have this big base that they're living in, right?
Mhm.
How did they build this base and no one knew that this was a real serious issue? Like nowadays, if something like this was coming, we'd know years in advance. They'd be building underground stations. Everybody would know about it. It wouldn't be like a few people hiding in a bunker somewhere. Like, how did they hide that?
Well, so here's the other thing too, is that so the ones in the bunker get exposed, and I know I'm jumping ahead, but they get exposed because somebody left the ventilation system open.
Yeah.
Oops.
And yeah, oops. Like you guys didn't fucking figure that out.
They're
But
scientists.
anyways, but the thing is that they were saying like, okay, so you can believe that Reggie was safe in the, because there's probably layers of building to get to her in that box, right? But then like the shed, was the
Samantha's
shed
in a
airtight?
garden shed. Yeah, right.
Yeah, like the shed probably wasn't airtight. Was the truck airtight?
Yeah,
Probably
Hector's
not.
trailer, definitely
Yeah.
not airtight.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so-
so these guys build $1 billion fucking military bunker, and oops,
Right.
somebody left the screen door open. There's a fly in here, and they're all dead. But Regina's gonna live banging Badger in the fucking movie theater. Okay.
Yeah, of course, like we said, you have to suspend your belief and just enjoy the movie for what it is. You
Yeah.
can't start picking it apart because it falls apart very quickly
Yeah.
when you
And-
do.
Spoiler alert, I have Eric Estrada as my recast.
Oh,
Yeah, you
ruined it.
you let the air out of the sails on that one. But I think
ruined
it was pretty obvious.
Oh,
It was
one
pretty
more
obvious.
comment about
Go ahead.
the awesome purple 80s bathroom.
Yeah.
Reminded me of the Flash dance set, like when they were filming the dance video, and it's like in the corner with the checkered background. You remember that? That's what that reminded me of. So
it's awesome. I love that bathroom.
Nice.
Hector stays for that night, but tells Regina that he needs to go to his parents' house in San Diego to see if they survived. He promises he'll return. At his parents' home, Hector confirms that his family is dead. He gathers a few keepsakes, but has to leave in a hurry when he's chased by a zombie boy. Reluctant to shoot little zombie boy, Hector manages to escape and run back to L.A. At the underground bunker, Carter, the lead scientist, argues with Audrey, the head doctor. She complains that they should not be bringing outsiders back to the bunker. Carter replies that under the circumstances, they do not have a choice, and plus your leg warmers look silly. As they watch a helicopter arrive with two survivors, she sees an elementary-age boy and a girl, and they're both in their pajamas. Samantha and Regina raid the local military armory to get some automatic weapons to defend themselves because their military father taught them how to shoot. Samantha has already developed a rash, though, something that occurs every time she feels stressed. To cheer her up, Regina suggests that they go shopping. They dress up in fancy clothes they wouldn't have been able to afford, but they're not alone. A group of overnight stock boys are watching them, and they take them hostage after a gunfight. I love the scene in the department store. I love it. It's stupid. It's over the top. Of course, you do have the Cyndi Lauper girls just want to have fun, but they don't use the Cyndi Lauper version. So it was like, it's weird. I always hate a song that sounds exactly like the song, but it's just that much different.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but I do love the gunfight. The gunfight's a riot. These two girls, like, distracting them by throwing shoes. It's so stupid, and it's so perfect.
So I can't tell you how many times I've seen this trope in a zombie movie where one of the characters has to go to their parents' house to see if they're alive. They're fucking never alive. They're never fucking alive. And it's like no one in a zombie movie has ever seen a zombie movie, right? And for me, I would cut this entire scene out of the movie. The movie's pacing was a little slow on this watch at right around the halfway mark. I think taking this like 15 minutes out would have been fine. Hector could have gone to take a piss, whatever. It was too much. I like the character of Regina, like you guys were talking about. She's the hero of the movie. And between her kicking zombie ass and, dressing down Hector's gun, we figure out quick she's a badass military brat. They can hold her own. And that's why I had no problem with her kicking the zombie's ass. I believed it.
Good point.
I mean, you see MMA now. These chicks, any one of these chicks would freaking murk you in 2 seconds. I love the scene where Samantha goes on air and plays DJ. It's a fun scene because it's fun just watching her do it, but it's also a great vehicle to introduce our protagonist. And for me, the viewer, to see the scientists get all the info they need from the hot mic in the studio, I thought it was pretty good storytelling. And this movie was short on good storytelling. So to just kind of come into focus for that 1 minute, I was like, oh, that's pretty good, And finally, we see this underground base, right? And I'm going to have a problem with this base a little later on during the escape. But for now, I love it. It's fucking 80s delicious. It looks great. And we get this whole mall scene of 80s pop punk zombies. This is off the chart fun. I fucking love this. This, like Delin said, this is my favorite part of the movie. And we were also talking about the zombie cops earlier. I thought the zombie cops were super fun. Dave, what you got?
When Hector is at his family's house, he has a completely different gun than he had back at the radio station. At the radio station, he had a revolver. Now it's an army style 45. Nice. So, maybe he's packing dual heat. I don't know.
It's mom's gun.
Yeah, mom's gun.
It's mom's gun.
Samantha's really going all out for an Oscar here, lamenting the boy who is going to ask her on a date and her friend who is failing algebra. Mall shopping spree montage time.
Oh, mall in.
Yep. And that, girls just want to have fun was a sound-alike version sung by Tammy Holbrook. Cyndi Lauper put her version out the year before, so they probably just wanted to save a few bucks on the song licensing.
Hate that.
And we meet Willie, the leader of the mall gang, and if he doesn't already, he should definitely front a goth new wave band because he just has that look to him.
Fucking skinny puppy.
He looks like he's in New Order.
He's New Order. That's what I said. He's in New Order.
Yeah, another great quote. I'm not crazy. I just don't give a fuck. Nice.
One of the
Yeah.
few swears in the movie, ironically. So I do love the gun scene with the girls. I am now looking back when I first watched this, I was like, yeah, they know how to shoot and they know how to fight. And isn't this awesome? And now I'm like, isn't it really convenient that the people that survived knew self-defense and how to shoot guns and all of these things.
And they have cartons and cartons full of ammunition.
Yep. And
endlessly shoot like it's an episode of the A-Team.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
And she could ride a motorcycle, which is also another skill. Like all of these things, just how convenient. I totally bought it back in the day, though. Absolutely, completely.
Of course.
Yeah. The mall scene is the reason I think I loved this movie so much when I was a kid. For me, this is the best part of the whole movie.
Yep.
And I always thought, like, if this happened to me, that's it. That would have exactly been what I would have done, is gone to the mall and taken all the clothes and all the shoes and all the purses that I ever wanted and all the makeup. And oh my God, it was the best thing ever. And I think I mentioned there's a Reddit thread about, why is this a cult movie? And people kind of agree that they saw themselves in this situation, like, what would I do? And
Definitely.
the mall scene is the one where everyone is like, that's what I would have done, is taken everything that I wanted. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the bunker scene is okay for me. I like that. I do love, like Des said, the radio, the hot mic, giving them all the information that they needed or how they could find these girls, and you get kind of a sense that don't have a they probably don't want these women to survive, or like, it's almost like an evil discussion or something like that. There's definitely a villain type discussion when you would think that they should be trying to save the world and not like destroy the world. But I bought that back in the day too. I don't know. There was an offensive slur against gay people screamed by Samantha at one point, I think. And you know what I forgot too was before Hector leaves, there's this scene between Hector and Regina where they're kind of building this. I think it was meant for them to build up a relationship. That was the cringiest scene in the whole movie.
bad.
It was
It's
so
so bad.
uncomfortable. Oh my God.
So bad.
Yeah.
And that's interspersed with, and I apologize that I skipped over the Samantha nightmares with the cops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I apologize. I skipped over that when I was doing the write-up. And I love the double false awakening.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That
Yeah,
was
it's
good. I liked that
fantastic.
too.
Because you don't think, like, I don't know if that was a trope back then, because this is early. This is early in horror movies. This is early in all that stuff.
Yeah,
Yep.
this movie doesn't know what it wants to be. It's giving you everything. It's like, here.
Little Nightmare on Elm Street.
Try that.
Yeah.
You've awoken from the dream. You haven't awoken from the dream.
Yeah, and it's like they said that this is one of the first zomedies. So zombie
Yeah.
comedy. Yeah, this was one of the first one. There's one that came before it that's kind of maybe considered that, but this is a lot of people consider this the first one.
Yeah. And I have to go back to the guys, the attackers that look like the 80s new wave band, when he was wearing all the brooches, the glimmering brooches on it. Oh my God, like the perfect band.
Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe they were actually in a band. I didn't look up who they were, but maybe they were actually in a band.
I looked up the main guy, and he was an actor. It didn't mention anything about him being in
he
a
needed
band.
to be.
Meanwhile, the scientists arrive at the radio station but find it empty. On a hunch, they decide to check the department store, because where would teenage girls be? Oh boy.
The mall.
I mean, but they're right, so
Yeah, it might be.
In the basement, the boys have chained the girls back to back. The head stock boy removes his sunglasses. We see that the boys have partially been exposed and they're starting to turn into zombies. They then play a game of Russian roulette by putting a gun to Samantha's forehead. Before the fatal bullet is fired, however, the boys are surprised by the arriving scientists, who machine gun them down and rescue the girls. The scientists, seeing Samantha itching, assume she has been partly exposed. With some lies, they send Regina back to the bunker and keep Samantha to wait for Hector's return. Audrey injects Samantha with something that causes her to go unconscious. Oscar believes that Audrey has to put the girl down to spare her from becoming a zombie. The two argue, and Audrey tells Oscar that she no longer wants to be a party to taking survivors back to the bunker. He draws his gun, but Audrey is faster with hers and kills him. I mean, Audrey is a stone cold bitch. I mean, she's taking no shit. She has her own agenda. This is wrong. We can't be taking these people back and doing these, And the thing is like, when you see this part, you don't really know what her agenda is. You haven't caught on yet. So I'm watching this and I'm like, damn, she just killed Samantha. What the fuck? Like you don't know when you first watched it. I was like, this is crazy, but she turns out to kind of be a little heroic, which is
Dude, tell me this
crazy.
character wouldn't have been better in combat boots. Come on.
I mean, the little white kids with the leg warmers was
Holy
fantastic.
Okay, combat
man.
boots with leg warmers.
Okay, yes.
Yeah. So we get a little exposition dump here between the scientists, and this is where they're going to explain the rules of the comet's effects on people. And it's your basic zombie movie rules with a couple of caveats, right? We're going to get one being, if you're infected, you will eventually turn to orange dust, right?
Mhm.
So I'm thinking these scientists, right? If they just lock the door, like Audrey suggested, and they wait for everybody that's infected to die off before going outside, then in a month or so, they go outside and anyone out there is going to be normal because they obviously have lived through the effects of the comet. But, at this point in the movie, we don't know that the air ducts were left open and they are actually fighting the clock too, right?
Right.
We're led to believe here that Samantha's infected, but we've already got a little exposition talking about, I get rashes easily. So I'm thinking, I don't know if she's infected. Maybe she does have a rash. And then, Audrey supposedly tries to euthanize Samantha. But again, her actions and demeanor are leading me to believe otherwise, right? Like I'm starting to really pick up what's going on here. I'm having fun trying to figure out where this is going. It's a nice slow burn. Again, it's a very short part of the movie that's actually doing some good storytelling. And in the end, there's a scientist on scientist showdown. What could be better?
Well, here's where things start falling apart a little bit for me.
Big time.
The gradual zombie makeup of the mall gang is pretty good. I did buy that Samantha had a nervous rash, but I really did think they killed her off. But yeah, here's the part where I start to not understand exactly what's happening, but we're hanging in there.
Yeah, dude, Dave, everything after the mall scene where the punk band gets killed, this is where the movie literally falls off a cliff. This is where I found myself struggling not to fast forward through scenes. Lisa, go ahead.
So we have to talk about in the basement scene how the 80s fashion, it's like a mall just threw up all over these people. It's beautiful. Everybody has a crazy new, they weren't not even the same outfit they were wearing in the last scene from 5 minutes before.
Right?
Sunglasses and just all crazy colors. Oh, it's freaking beautiful.
Wardrobe.
Right? Just I love it. And
that was
really
all their money was the wardrobe.
And back then this wasn't outlandish fashion. This is what people were wearing. So to us today, it's oh, rad 80s fashion. And they were just, hey, this is a cool thing to wear. It's kind of normal, maybe. I don't know. The science, is falling apart at this point. I'm trying to figure out, the scientists seem evil to me, like I said. And as they start to make some decisions, I'm there's not a lot of people left in the world, and they're trying to kill the people that are left that could be healthy, when they're doing it. And then I'm there's something else going on here. And, eventually we find out, well, if you're exposed, obviously the exposure is going to make you more evil. So maybe there's some connection there to they're doing some crazy shit because of that. It all comes back around. I don't know. I get a little lost at this scene, and I kind of remember when I was a kid, the centerpiece of the movie for me was the mall scene. And between my last watch as a kid and my first watch as an adult, I actually didn't really remember the rest of the movie after that. But then, I've watched it as an adult a few times, so obviously I remember it now. But I missed from being a kid, the end of this movie is gone in my brain. So.
Yeah, we get we're going to find out that they're making a vaccine and, they need, children's and healthy people's blood. Fun fact, when the global elite made the COVID vaccine, it was out of babies' blood, just so you know, and it was done in a Masonic hall.
By the Illuminati.
That's right, Dave. So you read the article too. Okay. Have you guys ever seen Dawn of the Dead? The one where they're in the mall?
Yes.
The original
Dude,
and the remake. Yep.
Okay, so the remake is one of my favorites because this is a wet dream for me, right? Like they've got the whole top of the mall. The only way up is through this elevator that they control. Like they're eating fucking like steak dinners at a fucking like 5-star restaurant. They're like, maybe we should try and get to the dock and get to an island where we can like eat dirt. Like I'm like, yeah, you should all go and I'll stay here. Fuck, dude, fuck that movie because of that. Sorry, keep going.
Oh my god. Oh boy.
Remember when I was chewing on that edible fucking half an hour ago? There it is.
There it is. Whoop, there it is. Okay. Back at the bunker, Carter tries to question Regina, but she's being uncooperative. In another room, nurses are using human survivors as blood-making machines for uncontaminated blood.
Like Mad Max, Fury Road, blood bags.
This is the plan for the 2 children and Regina, too. Hector arrives back at the radio station to find Audrey, who's now very close to becoming a zombie. While she injects herself with a lethal dose of drugs, she explains that the scientists accidentally left the vents open in the bunker and received a partial exposure. They're tracking down survivors, hoping that if they can get enough uncontaminated blood, they can create a serum to reverse the effect. Samantha and Hector arrive at the bunker, and Hector knocks out the guard and rigs the trucks parked outside, while Samantha sneaks inside. She finds Regina, and they're able to rescue the kids from the nurses just before they're about to start operating. Regina, Samantha, and the kids escape. The scientists attempt to pursue them in the trucks, but Hector has sabotaged them, and they blow up. Back in LA, the rain has washed away the last of the dust, and the sky has cleared. Hector, Regina, and the 2 kids have become a family unit. Regina is taking pictures of them dressed in new clothes. Samantha feels left out, and she almost gets run over by a car. It's driven by a handsome teenager who apologizes and tells her his name is Danny Mason Keener. He invites her for a ride, and as they drive off, we see his license plate reads DMK. So the part where the scientist has finally turned into a zombie, and he's in the Jeep, and he leans forward, and his eyes are all milky, and he reaches for the ignition and turns it, and the guy's like, no, and then it's so fucking stupid, and I loved it. It doesn't matter.
Dude, what's up with Hector? He's dressed up in that fucking like cowboy Halloween costume. Dude, this movie is like completely gone off the rails by this part. So we get the huge exposition dump from Audrey as she's dying, explaining everything we need to know for the rest of the movie. You know, we get the dark plot, kill the children for the blood. Scientists have 36 hours to figure out an antidote. This is lazy storytelling. I mean, they give it all to you in this one quick scene. She dies peacefully. Oh. At the lab, we learn the survivors are being used as blood bags, like Dylan said. This plot is fucking crazy, and it just keeps unraveling and getting weirder and weirder. It's so cheesy, but it's fun. It's satire, and I'm along for the ride. Now, the military base, I mentioned this earlier. I wish it hadn't been like this heavily armed military base with these heavily armed guards. Like, as the movie goes on, I kind of feel like there's a shitload of guards at this place. I mean, it's fucking huge. When we get the first like view of this thing underground, and you can see like guards in like towers and stuff, I'm thinking there's like hundreds of guards here. Probably, right? I wish it had been like a private sector research lab with a couple of security guards with pistols, right? There's your guards. It would have made this escape more believable. Hector could have gone in there, knocked a couple of these bumbling guards out, but no, he's taking on the U.S. military with this fucking cowboy outfit, and it's hard to swallow. Scene of the 2 kids going to see Santa Claus, super creepy. I loved it. I thought the imagery was really good. And finally, the final scene of the movie, we see Regina and Hector going to start a family with the 2 kids, right? But when Samantha lands a hot young dude in a sports car, I'm thinking Regina must be having second thoughts about this, playing housewife with Hector and these kids. She must be like, maybe if I hang out here for an hour or two, a dude more my age in a Ferrari will pull up. And then Hector can like do whatever he wants with these kids. I don't know.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, Santa was driving a sweet vintage car.
Nice.
It turned out to be Hector.
Love it.
Rescue, blow up the evil scientists, yada, 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 got it. The end of the movie, somehow the older sister turns super 80s preppy. I remember this vibe from the 80s, and it was goddamn awful.
Yeah, the Jessica McClintock dress that she's wearing at the end makes me want to barf.
Sweater suits.
This just gave me bad flashbacks.
Ouch.
But The younger sister is still fun and normal, but always remember the weight of civilization rests on our shoulders.
Yeah.
It was happy ending since Samantha finally got a guy for herself, and until I just read the script for the show, I didn't realize why they focused on the license plate with his initials. I was a little slow. It was late at night when we watched this last night, because he was the guy butting in on the high scores on the Tempest machine.
Yep.
Yes.
What a cute bow to put on the movie.
Yeah.
But what you guys don't know is that kid is actually a serial killer, and he eats her liver with a bottle of Chianti.
And it's funny too, because initially he had no plans on ever telling anyone who DMK was. That was the plan. The plan was not to have somebody be DMK. And people in the crew were like, who is DMK? You got to bring it back. Like, it was like, you have to circle back around, you
Right,
have to, the callback. And so that's what he did to make it happen, was make it be Samantha's new boyfriend.
That was a young Buffalo Bill. Lisa, what do you got?
So we obviously learned that they left the vents open in the highly scientific military research center for some
Think
reason.
tank.
With no HEPA
Yeah.
filters.
Well, you know why? You know why they did. In one of the opening scenes, this is my theory. They're smoking down there. So I think they left the vents open to air out the smoke. So that's what it was, because you apparently could still smoke at your desk back in 1983.
Nice.
Smoking kills.
Yeah, exactly. So, there was a really fast wrap up for why the Comet made the zombies and that they were exposed. Like, all the story just was all of a sudden over, right?
Right.
And then we get back to the end, and they are wearing the most uncomfortable, atrocious clothing that they could possibly choose, when they can literally wear anything that they want in the whole world, right? And they have like the worst clothes on that you could and to be fair, yes, Samantha looked more normal, still atrocious, right? For the end of the world, right? Where the electricity is going to go off soon, and there's going to be no food really soon also. That's not what I'm wearing for the end of the world.
He's like in a blue suit. It's like...
Yeah, and they got the kid like in a full suit, and he's like, "Can I take the jacket off?" It's like, let the kid take the jacket off. There's no one else here. Like, what are you doing to this kid?
Oh.
So I do like the video game wrap up, though. I did catch that as a kid, although not on my first watch, I don't think. So it did take me a little while. I do like that they wrapped that up. I thought that was like,
but I think that would have made more sense if it was Samantha that was playing the video game and not Regina, because Samantha's the one that ends up with him.
Yeah, maybe that would have been a better way to do it. I think this, like, Dylan, this was an afterthought, maybe.
Yes.
That they did this.
Definitely.
Yeah, and they
Yes.
probably didn't plan it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it ended kind of abruptly. So she drives off in a car with a stranger, and her sister's like in the street, like waving to
Okay,
her, like,
see ya.
good luck to the guy we
Bye.
don't know. Okay,
Be back by midnight.
everything's going to be fine, even though there's no people, and everything's going to stop working in a few minutes. And really weird.
That kid actually killed DNK 12 minutes before the scene when he pulled up to pick up Samantha.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me.
There was also a couple places where there was some missed opportunities. There's a scene very close to the beginning of the movie where you see the base, like the outside of the base, and there is the fence with the sign, like the "Do not enter," blah blah blah. And a little bit further in, you see that same shot, and you see like an army guy's feet. Fine. And then a little further in, they do it again. And it's still the army guy's feet. And it's like, I know that it's just like a shot to tell you, okay, we're back at the bunker.
Right.
But it's like, this was a perfect opportunity to have the shot without the feet, the shot with the feet, and then the next one, he's a zombie.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly.
That's such a missed opportunity to me. Like, and it's such an obvious opportunity because it's telling you what's happening without telling you like they did.
Yes, because they had fucking 2 days to finish the last half of the movie. I mean, dude, come on. And like Dave said, man, once we get to that base and they're like what's his face going in, like putting dynamite. This is an episode from the A-Team. That's how well it's written. It's a disaster.
And there's $12 left in the budget.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody gets lunch. So there you go. This Chinese food is the last of the petty cash. All right, so that's it. We have broken down Night of the Comet for you, and let us recast it. We'll give you our alternate endings, and then we will score it and shelf it. As I said, I would replace Hector with Eric Estrada. There it is. Dylan, what are you doing for a recast?
I would replace the main girl. I forget her name, but Regina.
Yeah.
And I would place Patricia Arquette.
Oh,
Nice. I
good
like
one.
that. Oh, Regina. What a
Yeah.
shitty name. Imagine growing up with a name.
And looks
No offense
maybe
to the Reginas out there.
maybe would look a little bit more like Samantha. I think they would look more like sisters as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. That's
Oh,
kind of what I
yeah.
was thinking. Like, and
Yeah.
I'm thinking of her in, Dream Warriors.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
Mhm.
that age, Patricia Arquette.
Cool. Lisa.
I have two replacements, so I'm going the opposite of Dylan. I'm going to replace Kelli Maroney with Laurie Singer from Footloose, so that they
Oh,
can
awesome.
look a
Same
little
actress.
closer.
Same actress. Almost
Yeah.
exact same person.
But she's a little more like angry and emotive and bratty, I think.
Yeah,
So I
totally.
think that would have worked for the little sister. And I'm replacing Mary Warrenov with Kelly LeBrock from Weird Science.
Awesome.
Nice.
Awesome.
I like
I
it.
love that. Those are great ones. Dave, what are you doing?
Well, I'm going to recast the lead, Regina. Catherine Mary Stewart did a fine job, but someone hotter, like Tawny Kitaen, would bring some extra spice to the role.
And she could have jumped on the hood of that fucking BMW.
Sure. Yeah, bonus points. I'm sure they couldn't afford a bigger name actress with their low budget, but
That's fucking awesome. All right,
Yeah.
let's do a couple of alternate endings.
As if we'd end the movie like that. Yeah. Let's do the Scooby-Doo ending. Good call.
And then we will wrap this thing up. My alternate ending, when the car pulls up at the end of the movie, it's not a sports car. It's a large SUV. And we see that it's Audrey driving. Turns out she injected herself with a sedative, not poison. And she has come back looking for Hector. They all get into the car as a family, with Hector and Audrey more appropriately being mom and dad.
Oh,
The
good
end.
one. Yeah.
Do it.
Okay, I like that.
Thank you.
That too.
All right, so mine is Samantha decides that waiting around for some cute boy to show up is boring. She gets into a car and heads out to find other survivors to bring them back. She breaks into a military facility where she finds a tank and rolls out into the streets in it, becoming the first tank girl.
Nice. There you go. Awesome. Hey, why not? There's plenty of plot twists in this movie. Lisa, what do you got for an end of this movie?
So I'm gonna say that I wanted to prep this movie to be a series, right? So I don't want to end it with like an ending. So instead of them in their stupid little outfits and taking pictures and all that, I'm having them come out, the girls, in like survival gear that they got at like REI. If was REI open back then? But
I don't
some
think
kind
so,
of
but who cares?
Army Navy
Army
store.
Navy store.
Sure.
And they're in like real Armageddon outfits. And they're going to use the radio station to broadcast to people to tell them to come and meet and create a new civilization and go forward like that. But
like it.
more importantly, when Hector goes home to his mom's house, he gets killed by a zombie, so Hector's dead.
Nice.
Yes,
Fuck
please.
Hector.
I like it.
Oh, God. A couple of zombie chips cops.
Yeah.
Dave. What you got?
Yeah, they missed an opportunity there with the
Yeah.
with the motorcycle cops. So yeah, that original ending was horrible. Preppy family on one side pretending like it's 1955 or some shit, and then fun 80s kids on the other side who are probably headed out for a beach party or something.
Perfect.
Let's change it. We'll move the arcade games into the radio station, broadcast to find fellow survivors part-time, and then also travel around in a sweet van the rest of the time looking for fun and adventure. Maybe they find a big dog and solve some mysteries on the way.
Ruh-roh.
That's perfect. And we should have replaced the actor with the one that played Shaggy in all those Scooby-Doo movies. Perfect. All right.
Matthew
Awesome,
Willard.
guys. Exactly. Thank you. Nice job, everybody. Okay, let's score it and bag it. So this is not a perfect movie by any means, right? It has sketchy acting, wonky plot, lazy storytelling, but at the end of the movie, it is open to interpretation, which I love. That's like any good movie when you leave with four people and everybody has a different idea of what they just saw and what the end was. I always appreciate that. Pacing dragged brutally at the halfway mark. So for me, this cult classic, this iconic B movie, gets a rewatch score of 3.09, and that is high, but I have to go a little higher because it definitely is something that is from my childhood that I hold dear. So there it is, 3.09. Dylan, what is your score?
So I feel like you do on a lot of the points. There's definitely some moments that really drag. And like you said, there was a couple times that it didn't pass my phone test. I kept checking my phone and looking and I'm like, oh crap. And I'd have to back up because I missed something. Yeah, the thing is though, is that I'm going to score it above average because it knew what it was. It wasn't trying to overreach. It knew it was goofy. It knew it was silly. And for that, I give it kudos. And like you said, the nostalgia
Nostalgic.
factor. Yeah, that always comes into play. So I'm going to give it a 3.25.
Nice. Lisa.
All nostalgia for me. It's a huge memory movie. I watched it a million times, even though sometime in my life I'd kind of forgotten that middle piece in there. It's kind of just erased from my memory. I think this is one of the few movies that I could say I would actually like to see a remake of. I want them to remake it, and I want them to use like the science of like an Interstellar movie or something like that, where
Okay.
the science is real, tell the story again. I'm okay with that. Usually I am really against remake movies, but I would actually want that for this one. But I'm going to give this a 3.3.
Nice. So we all saw it the same. I have a feeling Dave's going to come bring this thing down into focus for us a little bit. Dave, what do you got for a score?
Well, no, I'm right in the same neighborhood with you guys. I'm going 3.1 on this one.
Nice.
There's parts that are fun, a few good quotes, but from the middle on, it turns into a confusing mess. I didn't remember the rest of the movie from my original previous watch. Not sure if I had fallen asleep or I got drunk or I just blocked it out in my mind. It was just okay for me. I would go for more of a straight up zombie movie like Dawn or Day of the Dead instead of this one.
So the score is, what did he say?
3.1.
3.1.
3.1. So quickly, you've never heard of this movie before. It means nothing to you. What's your score? My score, 2.01. Lisa, what's your score?
Maybe a 2. If
Dave,
that,
what's your score?
Yeah, 2.2.
If we're taking the nostalgia glasses off,
Yeah, you've never heard of this movie. You just watched it today.
1.75.
Okay, so there you go,
Yeah.
everybody. So this is
Yeah.
really a piece of shit that belongs at the bottom of the screen. If you've never seen it and you weren't born in fact, you didn't grow up in the 80s, you'll hate it. Don't even watch it. I tried to get Fee to do this one with us, and he watched half the movie and replied, "I can't do that."
just punched out.
Yeah, I was like, "You don't even want to come on and like make fun of me." He's like, "Dude, I can't watch the rest of this movie. I'm not doing it." So,
Oh,
so
man.
there you go. There you go. All right, Dylan, where does that land on the list?
Wait till I tell you where this is.
Oh, good God. This
Wait
is
till I
bad.
tell you. Okay.
Bad.
It's number 66 with a
Okay.
3.185.
Yep.
Right above it is Don't Look Up.
No way. Oh, that's so awesome. Okay.
And right below it is Trick or Treat.
Trick or Treat with Sammy Kerr.
Yes, the Sammy
Okay.
Kerr.
All right. Well, there you go. It's a middle of the packer, and it
Yes.
honestly doesn't belong there. Okay. Next week we will be reviewing the Rocky Horror Picture Show. This is going to be a little different because we will be doing it with cast members from the Boston Kenmore Square Rocky Horror Shadowcast. from the
Harvard
past.
Square.
Harvard Square.
Not Kenmore Square.
Sorry, Harvard Square Shadowcast from the past. And this will include Tony, who played Eddie. It will include our very own Delyn, who played Magenta, and it will include Pam, who played Janet. So there you go. And Dave, you were on the crew, yes?
Yeah, I was on the props crew.
Well, if you would like to come on and give any little tibby-dibbies on it, you're more than welcome to come on.
Absolutely.
We're going to do this one more like just sort of remembering the day and what it was like to be on a shadow cast, and might be fun to get some technical stuff from you that was, working behind the curtain. So
Sure.
Yeah, we'll
You let
definitely
us know.
talk about the movie a little bit, but the movie is the movie. So.
Right. And next week on our sister podcast, Violent Vinyl Radio, we will be breaking down Fastway's Trick or Treat for our Halloween episode. I can't wait. I'm not going to tip my hat, but I'm looking forward to listening to this album this week. Not sure where the singer's going to land, though, because honestly, I couldn't pick this guy out in the police lineup. I have no idea what he looks like, so I'm interested to do that. All right, everybody. Until next time, I just have one question for you. Hey, did you ever see that movie? See you later.